My name is Angie Carpenter. I'm a needle felt artist. This is needle felting. This is the art of taking various animal fibers, certain animal fibers, and sculpting them with a special needle. You start small with a core, and then it builds into the sculpture. This is the more advanced level. I've spent years mastering my craft, let's put it that way. You start with what's called core wool. It's the process, what I call it crunchy wool, but it's a more grabby kind of wool to make your base of you have to start off with a base. Before that base, though, you would have to have what a lot of people use, which is a wire armature. Okay, so you're going to build an animal, you're going to use the skeletal structure, and then you're going to use the fatty layer, and that's the crunchy layer, what I call it, and then you're going to go into what's called the comb top, and this is the skin. This is the comb top. It's very smooth, and you want to wrap it around any core that you have, and that's when you start the sculpting. Now you can start the sculpting process in the core part, or you can sculpt it as you go. I prefer to sculpt it, pre-sculpt it, and then cover over it. But that's pretty much the general process. Now as you advance and you get better, you don't necessarily have to have that wire armature. Like the sheep that's there, he doesn't have a wire armature. It's just a matter of being able to master the weights and the proportions that you need in order to eliminate that wire armature, that skeletal structure. I make giraffes, tall, long-necked giraffes. They have to have a supportive structure or they would crumble. But that's the process of it, and you can dye your own wool. You can process your own wool. I have processed my own wool. I dye probably 99% of my wool. I do myself. It's trial and error. You have to watch what supplier you get it from, because some comb top white is added. It's got an added yellow dye to it. Okay, so then anything that you dye black then turns green. So you have to watch, where you get your suppliers from. It's a big process. So that sheep is actually processed down. My wool, that would be my wool. It's a lot to learn, and I firmly believe in learning everything from sheep to finished product. It's a big draw because a lot of people haven't seen it before, or they've seen it on a TikTok or something like that. But as far as the area, I'm kind of a Tigger. I'm the only one, and a lot of people don't take it seriously as an art form. But fiber art, for some reason, a lot of academics don't want to accept it as an art form, and I think that's because people don't take it to the level that I've taken it to, and this is just a sampling of some of I've done some very elaborate, exquisite pieces, but they don't travel, you want to travel with those really elaborate pieces, and but these are fabulous. I mean, I love them, but I'm a little biased. The barn was, the original barn, this barn was first prize at the Braxton County Fair, and I made the barn and I carved all of the animals and everything to it. So now I took out the carve because I needed the needle felt. So I added the needle felt to the barn. I make them all. I do all the instruments for the fairies, all the pies and the wiring for he's motion activated. Just my thing. I like to learn it all. So yeah, these are my babies. Uniquely whimsical. That's. I'm tired of living in a cookie cutter. People wanted something different, and they didn't want what everybody else had. And it's reasonably priced too. So, I try to keep it to where everybody can have something unique and, so uniquely whimsical because everybody wants something different. I've loved art all my life. I've been an artist since I was little, always creative, always in some other world. I'm always thinking of things. In fact, my sister graciously named me MacGyver because I'm always fixing stuff. I'm always putting things together. So my mother is part of the doll club. She's a doll collector. And she one day said, you need to make me a doll. And I was like, okay. So I started making the doll houses. Well, she called me one day and she said, I need fairy houses for the junior doll clubs, fairy gardens. And I said, okay, sure. So I made her fairy houses to go in her fairy gardens. So from that, I started trying to make a doll. Well, in the process of not making a doll, I made all kinds of accessories for dolls and fairies and things. And then finally have accomplished making dolls. So that's what started it, is Mom said she wanted a fairy. So I guess it's been 7 years. I've done everything and just finally getting around to doing really, really, really good facial features and things like that. I am completely self-taught. I took art, my last art class was 8th grade. So everything that I know, everything that I've picked up, I have just learned from the process of just trial and error. I just think that God gives us all talents, and I think this is what He gave me, and He knew when to give it to me and what I was going to do with it, and it's been actually a great blessing. It's gotten me through a lot of hard times in my life, just having the release and the, just having the gift. I had been to Tamarack like once, and my sister went, she's like, you know what, you really need to do your stuff there. And I said, okay, so I'll jury in. So I submitted and got accepted. So it was just like out of the blue. I wasn't expecting to get in. I didn't expect anything. And from there, it just led to, a different association and another association and doing shows. And that's what it led to. And it's just kind of the path that it's on, and then the better you get, the more you're going to progress. And that's why when I teach classes or something, I'm like, guys, don't give up, keep going. We're losing our arts, keep going. You don't know how far you're going to go with it, and that's every art. And I think we're losing a lot of that art, and I think a lot of our young people really need to be taught to do these things, in a world where everything is, I call this the disposable generation, where everything is disposable. But I'm all about handcraft, handmade, and art. I'm located outside of Sutton, West Virginia. I own property out there, so to have a studio and a home out there is perfect for me. I draw a lot of my ideas and things from nature. I know more about birds and worms and squirrels than what I thought I was ever going to learn. But it gives me the opportunity to study, all kinds of things, that people in inner cities and stuff don't get the opportunity. They have to go to a zoo or travel. I get to see it all up close, so that's, good for me. I'll live out in the middle of nowhere to have that kind of experience. So I have a Facebook page, but I do private collectors, just doing shows, networking, passing out cards, word of mouth. I was published in Artworks magazine for an ornament that I did for the archives for Kathy Justice when she did it was featured in there. I was in Bears and Dolls magazine. Just word of mouth and a lot of luck and a lot of God's blessing is what I always say, because I can't explain it any other way. I do a lot of hats. I did the Mad Hatter. I did Alice in Wonderland. There was a program for a doll show, and my mother requested a Mad Hatter hat, so I made her an oversized Mad Hatter hat. Well, in the process of making hats, I made a Kentucky hat. I made this hat, just as a whim of I want to make hats this week. So that's what I did. I make a lot of them. They're wildly popular. I don't sell a lot of them, but they're a lot of fun to make, and they're fun to take to shows, and people really they get enjoyment from. And I think that's probably why 90% of everything I do is so people find some joy, and they do. And if a child or a person can stand in front of my works and get a nostalgic feeling of something, or just bring a giggle to a child, or just a little bit of joy, it doesn't matter what that piece's price is. That is success to me, is somebody to find joy in what I do. And that's the reason for the hat. That's the reason for the whole thing. Other than that, it's just a ball of fluff, some imagination, and a dream. That's for